One Piece chapter 1141 is here. We have a lot of gags, a lot of humor, and Loki stood up! So first off, the chapter begins with Nami being very upset about the treasure hunting not working out so well for her. It makes sense, I get it for her character. It's not the most interesting thing to me. The much more interesting part in the beginning of this chapter is the Atom Tree. So first of all, I love that Ripley just knows the history of the tree branches. What tree, this particular branch, what village lived on it, what the history is of how it was cut off, and the village too was cut off, which I wonder what happened to that village. Did they fall into the sea? Were they all killed? Were they evacuated first? I assume it was that. I imagine there's probably not a lot of branches that have been cut off and destroyed in this way, so it may just be that Ripley is aware of the few historically significant moments where this has happened, especially because it is important for the people of Elbaf to know what the greatest weakness of Elbaf is, which, foreshadowing, lightning and fire are a weakness for Elbaf in general, for the Atom Tree in general, which is interesting because the mural obviously had that giant lightning strike coming from what appeared to be Enel's ship Noah thing. And I do personally hold to the belief that the mural is simultaneously a depiction of past history as well as a prophecy of the future, not divided in sides, but as a whole. It depicts the history, but it's also it has a dual purpose in that way. So I do think that, you know, we can see that the lightning strike was there, but also we can assume that it might be foretelling another lightning strike. Perhaps Enel is returning. That's not new to me, to be said. But also in the mural, we saw fire, you know, coming up all around. And when we were first introduced to the Atom Tree, we know that civilizations have built up around the Atom Tree, been torn down, been destroyed, and then built up again around the Atom Tree. So we know that there has been this destruction before that we see in the mural. It all seems to align really nicely, but it is interesting to know exactly what the weakness is and also to be able to kind of foresee where things might be going when Ragnarok begins, when the battle that is inevitably going to happen on Elbaf starts, which we'll come back to in a minute. Another gag that is again being referenced is that of the sword through the helmet, which I love this gag, and I'm glad that Oda is continuing on with it because it just cracks me up, especially the fact that when Usopp actually reached up and started messing with it, started jiggling it around, it hurt him. It was not just in the helmet, he's telling the truth, it's gone through the brain. And I love this concept of, if you take it out, if you take Excalibur out, if you unsheath Excalibur, what did he say? Draw Excalibur from its sheath, then he'll die, because he'll bleed to death. Because impaling him through the brain wasn't enough, but blood loss, that'll be the one. Which is hilarious because, again, Oda has already completely been dismissive of blood loss in One Piece. You know, characters can have an extraordinary amount of blood loss, and it's like, it's fine. They're up, they're moving. But blood loss has also been a plot relevant thing in Fishman Island, so I mean, he does what he wants. But I appreciate that being impaled through the head is not going to be the cause of death here. But maybe removing the sword, that might be the thing. It does make me wonder if during battle someone actually will unsheath Excalibur and he won't die. And it'll just be a gag, but also a really great moment for continuing the battle. I don't know, we'll have to see how that all plays out. He does mention that he's interested in older women, which is the title of the chapter. Now, one of my patrons mentioned Emu. We still don't have confirmed that Emu is, in fact, male or female, so it's certainly possible. We also have characters that may have some sort of in-world reason for appearing older than they are, like, for instance, Toki? It's been so long since I've carried my Toki torch, so I can't remember if that's her name. Toki, yes, okay, I'm talking about the right person. So there's instances like that, or there's, you know, the immortality surgery that could be given. There's in-world ways that, even though he is called the oldest living giant, that there still could be someone, there still could be an option, and we've already established that giant and other race relations is on the table. It's also possible that there's another giant race that Elbaf is not connected with, and he's the oldest living giant that they know of on Elbaf, but there's actually older ones. And it's honestly, I lean towards it's a gag and nothing more. I know the chapter was labeled older women, so it feels like it has more weight than just a gag about he's into older women, but he's the oldest giant, so what are you on about? I know that it feels like it has more weight, and maybe it does. And if it does, I think that there's in-world options for that. But I also think it's very possible that it's just a gag that Oda thought was funny, so he labeled the chapter after that gag. So Sanji seeks out Gerd. Gerd is talking to Roto, who is very bad at keeping secrets, and she can see right through it. While I don't like Roto, and I'm very tired of him, and I don't feel like we need another character with this type of gag around him, one is plenty. I do love seeing her ask him questions, be suspicious of him, and then you can see her creeping up on him from the background, and then, you know, the next panel is her having hit him over the head and telling him, what you have to fess up. You have to tell me what's going on. So now Sanji is placed with this pirate crew for them to then go pursue Luffy, etc., in order to stop him from freeing Loki, which perfectly positions us to have Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji all here as Loki is released. So that was some nice maneuvering. But first, Luffy and Zoro are here with the key. Zoro is still completely unconvinced that Loki should actually be released, and I love Zoro in this chapter. I've really enjoyed Zoro in Elbaf in general. He's been very ruthless to the point of, you know, should I go ahead and kill these children? I don't mind. I'm cool with it. You know, he's just like, he's very just, I'm cool, I'm fine with whatever happens here. Whatever I need to do, doesn't bother me. And Luffy is in full on, we need to rescue the giant mode. Like, he's bleeding out, he's gonna die, we have to help him. And Zoro can see, no, something's off here. Those animals have been attacked, he's clearly been attacked, something has happened, we probably shouldn't act too fast. Or at the very least, if we're going to release him, then let's keep his leg bound so that he's still vulnerable with the sea stone. What I find really interesting, the fact that he's bound in sea prism stone, which weakens him severely. He has chest wounds, he's been stabbed through the chest, which one might argue would weaken someone severely. He gets beat by Zoro, he gets beaten by Zoro directly in the wounds, which one might argue might weaken a person, and he's still just playing dead. He's just pretending. He's pretending to be suffering until he gets free, and then he stands up. Now, we don't know. Maybe he's gonna stand up and then in the next chapter fall back down because he's so weakened and so hurt. I really don't think that's what's gonna happen, though. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I love the Zoro-Luffy bickering. We haven't had a good Zoro-Luffy fight in a while. And so I love seeing them go back and forth. Luffy's empathy for Loki and his desire to take care of those that he has decided that he trusts is really on the forefront here. A giant is dying, man. We have to save him. And Zoro, again, ruthless, he's just like, that's not my problem. I've never talked to him. I'm not attached to him. I don't trust him. Everyone is saying that he is untrustworthy, and frankly, I haven't seen anything to prove otherwise. If he truly is untrustworthy and we make the wrong move here, we're harming all of Elbaf. I mean, Zoro is really ruthless, but the level-headed one in this conversation, really trying to anchor Luffy when Luffy is acting on instinct, Zoro is trying to assess the situation as best as he can. Of course, he's doing it in a way where the way he checks to see if Loki is faking the wounds, it's by beating him right in the wound, like kicking him directly where he's bleeding out of, touching the blood and being like, okay, it's legit. It's like, sir! But it's kind of smart too, because if Loki is faking it, which, I don't know, seems like he might have been, I could be wrong, we have to see what happens in the next chapter, but if he is, I mean, I don't think he's faking it, those wounds are real, but if he is faking how severely he's affected by things, which may or may not be true, we have to wait to the next chapter to see, it is a good way to provoke him into action. I mean, there is that, but Zoro's method of checking to see how legit everything is it's a lot. And then it cracked me up when Zoro did this, and then Loki just slumped over, and Luffy's like, he died! It's like, imagine if that was actually how Loki died after all this time. cracked me up. And Zoro's just like, if he's dead, he wasn't meant to survive. Oh man, I love Zoro's role in this chapter. But we're not done, because Zoro points out Luffy wants to take care of Loki completely. He wants to free him. He wants to help. He wants to get him a doctor. He wants to get him some meat, because Luffy logic, it works for him. It helps him recover from anything he has. And Zoro's just like, meat. And Luffy's like, we don't eat friends. We don't eat friends. And Zoro's like, meat is meat. Which, I mean, honestly fair. Luffy was cool with eating Chopper when he first met him. He considered him food. Doesn't matter how sentient he was. Well, I mean, all animals are. It doesn't matter how intellectual he was. It doesn't matter that he was training to be a doctor, that he could speak, that he could walk on front legs. It doesn't matter how close to humanity he was. He was food until Luffy became attached to him, and then he became friend. So Zoro does have kind of a point here, but Luffy has a point too. We don't eat friends. He's right about that. Anyway, even though there are many methods of travel in Elbaf that have all been established, I guess the crew has decided we need to get there as fast as possible. No need for safety. We're just going to launch ourselves off of the Sun Realm down into the abyss. Whoops, we'll probably die. Which, I don't know. I don't get tired of it. I'm happy to see ships crashing from the sky. I like it every time. So I'm happy that Oda went this route, and we get to see Luffy, Gum Gum Balloon, and cushion their fall so that they were only severely injured, not dying immediately. Silver linings. What a great day they've had. So they're warning Luffy. That's what they came here for. You can't trust Loki. He is a menace. He's cunning. He's cruel. He's vicious. He's backstabbing. He will destroy you. He's faking it all, which again, might be true. And he's going to turn on you the moment he gets the opportunity. Now, again, we've heard a lot about the terribleness of Loki. We've heard a lot of legends. We haven't actually seen any of that from Loki. And what we have seen from Loki is him looking at celestial dragons, looking at god knights and saying, no, I'm never going to work with you. I don't want anything to do with you. We see him defending a friend, granted violently, saying, I would burn the place down if I were you. You should probably stand up for yourself. And we see him bargaining with Luffy instead of threatening him. So, I don't know. It is interesting that we've had all this buildup about how horrible Loki is. And our first time seeing Loki stand up, it's from a very menacing perspective. But it's all hearsay. It's all word of mouth. It's all legend. And in the past, when a character is built up with some extreme legend, it's not guaranteed that that's actually what it's going to be. A lot of times it is embellishment and lore, and what we actually get is a sweet, gentle father. We get Kuma when he's built up to be this horrible, terrorizing warlord that is this tyrant. Situations like that. And I do still lean towards Loki being a Loki. Again, I'm not the most well-read on Norse mythology, but from what I understand of Loki's figure in Norse mythology is that he is a trickster, obviously, but also that he kind of plays, he plays on his own side. Sometimes he's helping the giants, sometimes he's helping the gods. He does what he wants. He's kind of the figure that it's like, whose side is he on today? What are his plans? So if Loki is going to embody that kind of character, it could be pretty interesting, because Loki picks up, first of all, Luffy's face here. When Hadruden is going on about, he's lying, you definitely shouldn't free him. And Luffy's like, I do love that face. So he stands up and he picks up his hammer, which I believe is metal thunder, or metal lightning is what the name means. Okay, yeah, so it's a combination of Ragnarok, it's likely a combination of Ragnarok and it's stemming from the name of the hammer famously wielded by the Norse god of thunder, Thor. Okay, cool. So anyway, we have established that lightning and fire are big vulnerabilities for Elbaf. And what we have is Loki wielding something like a thunder hammer, maybe a lightning hammer. We've already seen Luffy wield lightning. He has no problem with that. So if Loki is going to be a whose side is he on today kind of character, or if he's just going to be an antagonist, if everybody's right about him and there's no twist to this story, he's just a bad guy, Luffy made a bad call, I don't lean towards that. But if that, no matter what the case is, to see, someone wielding the One Piece version of Thor's hammer, and then Luffy, who can wield lightning. It could be kind of cool. Whether they're on opposing sides or the same side, it could be kind of cool. I'm so excited about what's going to happen in the next chapter. I cannot wait to see what Loki is going to do now that he is up. Now, he's still chained. He still has the cuff around his ankle. So, you know, he's still weakened somewhat. He's also still got, you know, the gushing blood from his chest. He's still weakened somewhat. But I don't know. The lad has a legend about him, so he might just like chop that leg off or something. Who's to say what he's gonna do next? Or he could just break the chains, I guess, with his giant hammer. Or he could fall over because he's weak. I don't know. I lean towards he's going to do something awesome in the next chapter, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what Oda actually has planned for this character, because the buildup has been great, the character design is great, Luffy has put his own endorsement behind him, which Luffy does have he's a good judge of character for the most part. Not always. He does ask everyone to join his crew. So, I mean, you know, for the most part, he does a good job. I'm very excited to see what we've got next for Loki. I don't have a lot of commentary necessarily on this chapter. It's mostly just excitement, entertainment with the gags, and excitement for what's to come. But I think Loki has been built up so well, and I'm so excited to see what comes next. Please do chat with me more in the comments. I would love to continue discussing this. What do you think? What are your theories? What are your thoughts on things? I would love to continue chatting. I will see you again soon. Bye.